Hey everybody, welcome to another Friday live edition of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klink, and I'm excited for today's show because I'm going to be diving into a touchy subject. Specifically, today, I'm going to be diving into something about masks. Yeah, we're going to be talking about masks. You probably heard a lot of people talking about masks lately, but I'm not wading into that mask debate. I think most people probably know what I think about that, but I'm talking about something very different. I'm here to talk about the fact that way too many entrepreneurs are wearing masks in their business. They're putting on a front for their business. They're not being themselves. Even though they use words like authenticity and all of that, it's all just BS. And so I'm here to give you a call to action to stop. Just stop. Stop wearing masks and trying to be someone other than who you are and be you. That's what we're talking about in today's episode. Before we get to it, though, this episode is brought to you by my upcoming virtual live event called BOM Live, or Badass Online Marketing Live, that we're going to be holding in the fall, which is all about helping entrepreneurs really define everything about kind of what they stand for, what their business is, how they're going to be making money, and to ultimately build a business that is suited for them and that will power them over the long term. Not short-term success, not something where you're kind of a one-hit wonder, not something where you're reliant upon, killing a launch here and there to make your money year in and year out. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be helping people in this event. It is a 3-day event. This is not a summit. This is not a, webinar. It is a 3-day event packed with value that we're going to be running later this year. Now, the tickets aren't available yet, but you can get on a wait list so that when they are available, you can be the first to hear about it, get all the good deals, etc. You can find out more by going to bobbyklink.com/BOM Live, BOM Live. So bobbyklink.com/BOM Live. Now, with that, I want to dive into today's episode about why you gotta quit wearing those damn masks in your business. And it was inspired by a quote that I heard on another episode earlier this week on James Wedmore's Mind Your Business podcast. He had the personality expert who had come and kind of like worked with us at a retreat earlier this year the guy's name is Alex Paulos. And at one point, and I was listening to this on my morning walk, and I was about 5 miles into my walk when I heard this quote and literally had to stop, pull out my iPhone, take notes about it, make sure that I was doing it. I kind of had to click the go back 15 seconds, listen again. So I got the quote right because it was so good. But the second I heard it, I was like, wow, that's so good. Here's what Alex said. He said, if you want short-term success, just be a chameleon. If you want long-term success, be authentic and let people get used to you so you don't have to act. That quote hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, that's really calling out what a lot of people are doing. And he wasn't calling anybody out specifically. But when I look around what's happening in this space, and when I talk to people behind the scenes, oftentimes I hear them saying things like, well, I'm doing this because it's what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing this because it's what they told me to do. And I'm like, stop. Now, again, if we're talking about actually doing certain basic things in your business, you have to. But so many people are trying to show up a particular way in their business because they think that that's how they're supposed to show up. And so they're putting on masks. And they're trying to be a certain way when they're not, when they're actually a different way. I did this for a long time. I showed up as stuffy, stiff lawyer Bobby because I thought that's what I was supposed to do as a lawyer. I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what will make people trust me. But what I found is, number one, I really didn't like my business when I was doing that. but it also wasn't generating long-term success. It wasn't generating it because people weren't getting to know me. And so I was like living in these two worlds. And this is what, like, I talked about this quote. I've been talking about it with Katie on my team this week because, like, we've just been talking about it in various places. And she was talking about, like, isn't that exhausting? Wouldn't it be so exhausting to, like, have to constantly, like, decide, okay, well, right now I'm in this role, I'm this person, and now I'm going out front, so I got to change who I am. And she just said, one of the great things about me, and she was talking about me, is that I'm the same. Like, when I'm talking with her on the team, when I'm talking to you guys, like, you know, I'm snarky. I just am who I am. You know, I'm emotional. Those things affect me, and I don't pretend they don't. But there's also some important things to take from it, which is, and a couple of lessons I want you to get from this quote and this idea, is that you shouldn't be chasing whims. You shouldn't be doing things because you think that's what your audience expects of you, or you think that's what will make them like you. Because, again, it's almost like piling on a series of lies, and you have to remember those lies. And I'm reminded of, I'm blanking on what movie it was from, but it was a movie where someone is training someone to be a spy, and he asked the person he's training to go get a phone number or do something from a woman, and the guy goes over and he gets it and he comes back, and then the guy training him says, well, what'd you tell her? And he said, well, I told her that I needed information about where she got the dress she was wearing because I wanted to buy it for my girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, well, if that was an asset, now you have to remember all those things. You've got to have a girlfriend. You've got to have all those things. And I think about that, and I'm like, wow, man, that would kind of suck. Like, if you had to do that, if you had to remember all of these things, like the mask and how you showed up, it would suck. Whereas for me, I don't have to remember because I'm just me. I come here and I'm me. You know, I'm giving you my honest opinions. I'm telling it like it is. I'm just being Bobby. And so I don't have to think about those things. And I'll be honest with you. And this kind of relates back to the concept that I talked about recently in an episode. I think it was last week's episode on Tuesday, where I talked about if you want a successful business, you have to be a leader. And this is all kind of tied up in the same thing. And what I'm going to tell you is, it's going to sting. Because there are going to be people who don't like you. I'm just going to share that with you. There are people who don't like me. There are people who say mean things about me. And I'm not going to pretend that that doesn't hurt. It does. Now, when it's a random stranger on the internet, I'm like, okay, that's about them, not about me. But like sometimes people who, you know, have been in my audience or something like that, they get turned off because they just decide they don't like me. And they'll say mean things about me. And that hurts. There's no way around that. But the best way I know how to serve the people who are right for me is to just be me. To be me in every moment of my day so that there really is no question. So my advice to you is to be you. And this is like, you know, bring your personality to things. Don't pretend you're saying things because, you know, or say things that you think people want you to do and just don't do it. And I mean, there's a lot of places where this comes up, and we could talk about all kinds of examples. And it's kind of interesting. I was thinking about this recently. You know, there are two sides to the online entrepreneur world, or I've always said there are two sides to the online entrepreneur world. There's kind of the and I always joked, it's the Lambos and private jet side, meaning the people who are literally like, you know, every picture is about how they've made billions of dollars and they're rich and they're going to help you get rich and all that, right? I mean, there's that side. And then there's kind of the heart-centered side. And I'll just be honest, I don't, you know, the Lambo and private jet, of course, I want to be very honest. A lot of them are making crap up too because they don't actually have that money. They're pretending. But here's a shocker. There are people in the heart-centered side who want to act like they're not motivated by money at all. If you're not motivated by money at all, chances are you're not an entrepreneur. Now, You can have social justice purposes. You can have all of these other things you stand for, that you believe in, that you want to serve. And it could be that the large part of why you do what you do is you want to help people, you want to serve people. But if you're going to tell me you don't want to make a living doing it, I'm probably not going to believe you, because most of the people I know want to make a living. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that fact. We shouldn't feel bad about saying, yes, I want to make a good living. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm putting in all this work. And, I just say that it's like a small example that just came to mind, because I will see people, talking, and it's like they're actually acting like somehow like, oh no, I don't want to make money. No, that's not what this is about for me. And I'm like, then why are you toiling away? Because you could have more impact. You could do other things, doing a lot of other things that are easier than being an entrepreneur. So again, that's just a small example. But I've also seen friends of mine in the space who, when I talk to them, they're snarky. They're like me. That's how they are. But then they show up on their platforms as not being like that at all, as just being, a very staid, a very, and I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're afraid that their audience won't react well to their snark, to their wacky, to those things. And I say, well, wouldn't you rather have a business where you can actually have a good time and not have to do all those things? And ironically, doing that will build a more successful business for you over the long term. Now, again, if you're wacky enough, there might be some things where, you're just too nuts, like you're too far out there, and it will turn people off. But not because you're snarky, not because you're wacky, not because you're, whatever you are for 95, well, probably 99.999% of people who tune into me. And I'm just going to tell you that I want you to go back to that quote from Alex Paulos. If you want short-term success, you can be a chameleon. You can run after the latest trends. You can try to come up with and, just be who you think your audience wants you to be and do those things. But as he said, if you want long-term success, be authentic. And again, I want to make a point here. We are not talking about the BS authenticity that we hear all over the place here. Because in too many places, people are saying, oh, I'm being authentic. And it's that curated authentic where their house is always clean, where, there's never a mess, where everything works perfectly. That is not being authentic. Being authentic means sharing the good, the bad, the ugly. Sharing when you're struggling with things. Sharing, when you're dealing, in a bad place. And again, I don't mean that you trot that out all the time, but you can't refuse to share it when you're struggling. That's why on last Friday's episode, I shared that I had been struggling during the week with something, that I've been struggling emotionally and all that. And it wasn't until my team, put their foot down and said, no, we're going to stop doing this, that it snapped me out of it. Because I want you to know that we all go through that. We all struggle. We all have those things. And you, for your audience, need to be that kind of authentic, that kind of, open and vulnerable. When you share that, and when you are the true you with your audience, that's what I was talking about when I said, be a leader, or part of it. You have to stand for certain things, but then also you have to be willing to just be you. And that's why, I often say things that, basically kind of can rub some of my friends in the space the wrong way, because I'm criticizing the way they're building their businesses. Now, I'm not doing it to be a polarizing pain in the arse. I'm doing it because I honestly believe that. And I honestly believe that my audience would be best served by me telling you these things. Like, for example, and I'm going to be doing this inside a series we're starting next week called Bobby Ruins Online Marketing. There's a lot of these things that I hear people saying, and I've talked about some of them before, but like one of them that just rubs me the wrong way. This will work even if you don't have an email list. When I hear that, I just, I want to scream from the top of the rooftop. No, it won't. No, it won't. And don't listen to this person telling you that, because that's what I believe. And again, I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm not doing it to cause trouble. I'm doing it because I believe that message disserves so many people in the space. And so, that's an example of how I just am choosing to be me day in and day out. And, those of you who are watching the video see I'm wearing one of my Guru Rant t-shirts. And I'm doing it for that purpose because you understand that this is what I do. I go on these rants because that's who I am. That's what I believe in. And I feel like the best way I can serve people is to do that. So my call to action to you today is be the real you. Take off your mask, your metaphorical one. I'm not talking about the masks, not getting into that debate. But take off that mask that you might be wearing where you're pretending to be someone you're not in your business because you're afraid that being the real you might ruffle some feathers. Go ruffle some feathers today. Seriously, go cause some trouble. It'll help you over the long term. That's it for this live Friday episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. If you like what I'm talking about, if you like these lessons I'm talking about, if you like this kind of approach to business that I'm talking about, you're going to love Badass Online Marketing Live because we're going to dive into all this stuff. We're going to talk about all of these things about actually building a business that you love for you, not based on what someone else tells you how to do. You can get on the wait list, get all the info by heading over to bobbyklink.com/bomb live. That's BOM live. bobbyklink.com/bomb live. That's it, and I'll see you again on Tuesday.